for that. You should see something pop up on your screen. Also, we will be doing question and answers at the end, but please feel free to also use the chat. We'll be recording all the questions and our responses to today, and then we will also be posting that on Zoom Grants as an amendment to the RFP. This slide deck and recording will also be uploaded on Zoom Grants, so you can reference it in future as well. So today we'll be going over the RFQ, what it's about, our objective, background, and then all the minimum qualifications in order to apply. I'll be going over Zoom Grants, which is our procurement web-based system on how to apply. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A portion of the presentation. And if our guests would like to identify themselves, their name and their organization they're representing in the chat, that would be great. We would love to see who has joined us today. Next slide. So again, my name is Andrea Howerton, and I will let the other members of the DCHS team introduce themselves as well. Larry?
Hi, my name is Larry Evans. I'm part of the team on diversion and reentry services. I'm also one of the individuals along with Bridget Fields, who manages the contract for regional mental health court housing. I guess I could pass it on to Steve.
Yes, thank you. I'm Steve Gustavson. I'm the manager of the Diversion Reentry Services section in the Behavioral Health and Recovery Division. We are part of the Department of Community and Human Services, as Andrea and Larry said. I'm going to turn it over to Chelsea, and then we'll see. One of our members has not joined us yet, so we may or may not introduce her.
And my name is Chelsea Balin. I'm also on the team with Larry and work for Steve and support the work of Regional Mental Health Court and Regional Veterans Court. Thank you.
Should we introduce just so they know, Kate and have them introduce themselves too?
Yes, that'd be great.
Good morning. My name is Callista Welbaum. I oversee the therapeutic courts for King County District Court, and Regional Mental Health Court and Regional Veterans Court fall under that. And so it would be our people that would be in the housing. And I'll let Kate introduce herself as well.
Thanks. Good morning. My name is Kate Tramontana, and I'm the program coordinator for the Regional Mental Health and Veterans Court programs with King County District Court.
And we have another member of our team that may join this call in progress. Her name is Bridget Fields, and she supports many of the contracts in this particular body of work.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Next slide. Okay, I will hand it over to Larry.
Okay, the RFQ background. The purpose of the request for qualification, or RFQ, by King County's Behavioral Health and Recovery Division, we refer to ourselves as BHERD, is to solicit proposals from and enter into contracts with one or more qualified housing providers, excuse me, to provide time-limited interim housing and housing case management services for participants of the King County District Court's Regional Mental Health Court, Regional Veterans Court. Sorry for all the acronyms, but Regional Mental Health Court or Regional Veterans Court, we refer to those as RMHC and RVC. Participants are individuals who have enrolled or opted into and are participating in the Regional Mental Health Court, Regional Veterans Court program. The proposed start date will be within the first quarter of 2023. And lastly, the selected agency or agencies will provide time-limited interim housing and housing case management to single adults referred to by RMHC, RVC, or RVC. The duration of a housing stay will vary from participant to participant, but in general, it is expected to last for a period of no less than 6 months and up to 15 months. Next slide. Okay, so the objective for the RFQ, this RFQ is seeking an innovative approach to serve the RMHC/RVC participant population who need housing and housing case management services, including support securing permanent housing. The proposer or applicant may propose any program model that meets the needs of this population and reflects the RFQ's scope of work described below. There are disproportionate numbers of Black, Latinx, and Native American individuals in the criminal, legal, and corrections systems, including those who will be served by this project. This RFQ welcomes innovation from proposers, applicants who have experienced breaking down barriers, are culturally informed and responsive to communities of color, and are committed to promoting racial equity and undoing institutional racism. Next slide. Okay, the RFQ minimum qualifications. Eligible providers must meet the following minimum qualifications eligibility criteria. So 1, documented experience providing safe, recovery-oriented housing in King County. Next, documented experience working with those experienced behavioral health conditions, i.e. mental health and or substance use disorders. A demonstrated understanding that relapse or a return to substance use after an attempt to stop is a normal part of recovery. And the demonstrated understanding of trauma-informed care, including the vulnerabilities or triggers of trauma survivors that traditional service delivery approaches may exacerbate, so that these services and programs can be more supportive and avoid re-traumatization. And lastly, documented experience helping individuals with behavioral health conditions secure permanent housing in King County.
I think these are the slides that just kind of talk a little bit more about the process. And this is all in the RFQ documents for your review. But as you know, the RFQ was just issued last week. Today is what we're calling the applicant workshop, also known as a bidders conference, where you can ask questions. Also send us questions, and Andrea has already described that process, and we will answer those as well as we can today, but also in writing. There is a final day for potential applicants to ask questions in early January. You can see that on January 6th, and that will be done through Zoom grants. And we will respond to everyone who has that is in that system. Applications are due on January 13th, which is a Friday. I believe it's at 2 o'clock. That exact time is in the document. Then that starts the time that we internally will be working to make a selection or selections of providers. And as we say in the document, that judgment will be made as we look at the applications to see whether one or more applicants can meet the needs that we're looking for. Then we will notify the selected applicants in February of 23. The exact date is not absolutely nailed down because we will do it as quickly as we can in February, but we have some internal approval processes we have to follow in our organization. And then the contract start date is no later than April 1st, 2023. We hope, because we have a current provider, that the selected provider will work with that provider, and we have a transition period. So as soon as we can get started, the better. And if there are questions about that, as we get to that part of the process, we can answer those or attempt to answer those. This selection process, as we sort of described, is that there's an administrative review. Providers must meet the minimum qualifications to be considered for further assessment. And then we were looking for complete and responsive proposals. We will put together a review panel made up of members of our department, probably our customer, in this case, the Regional Mental Health Court, Regional Veterans Court, and possibly several other folks that can help us analyze the applications. So that will be put together, and that group will be ready to respond as soon as the closing date of this RFQ comes, which is January 13th. Highest scoring proposals will be recommended for a contract. It is possible that we will ask to interview applicants. We do not have to do that, but we could do it, and we may choose to do it depending on what we see in the proposals. We then have to get approval by our DCHS leadership before we can actually enter into contract negotiations with the selected applicant. This gives you an idea, and this is all in the document. This gives you an idea of how the scoring will occur. The rating criteria include minimum qualifications, a detailed work plan, case management description. And again, all of this is in the narrative in the document. And then how the organization is able to meet equitable and socially just housing and participant needs. Those scores are, as you can see, fairly highly rated. And then we move to the next level. We want to take a look at how you respond to housing those with a criminal history, because that's an important component. How you plan to coordinate with the RMHC RVC staff, because that's essential to the work that has to happen for this to be a success. How the organization plans to transition or begin to transition participants out of interim housing. Number 8, ability to provide safe, recovery-oriented housing, which Larry referenced earlier. We have a couple scenarios that are in our questions that we will rate the responses to those. We have a question about your policy toward accommodation of medications that many people receive while in RMHC or RVC, and your ability to capture the data we need to collect. Because we are a mid-sales tax funded program, we are required and do collect data and report that up through our department. Obviously, the final thing is important. You have to show us what your budget is to meet whatever amount of housing you're able to meet for the funding that we have made available. We want to see your budget for that. And so those are the rating criteria that we'll be using to make the selection. I believe this goes back to you, Andrea, is that right?
Yes. Before I get started again, I just wanted to see if anyone had any questions on all that information that we just had about the specifics of the RFP. Okay, and again, if you have any questions that come up, please use the chat feature, or we'll have more time at the end as well. So as I said at the beginning, we use a third-party online system called Zoom Grants to for our RFPs and for the application process. So you can see the link right there. We can put it in the chat as well, and it'll also be in the announcement of the RFQ. And yes, I will be sending out these slides. They'll be uploaded on Zoom Grants shortly after this presentation. So thank you for that question. So within Zoom Grants, you will start the application process. You will respond to all the questions under each tab in Zoom Grants. There's a summary tab, a narrative questions tab, and then there is a documents tab as well if you have any supplemental documents you'd like to upload to go with your application answers. Sorry about the typo there, but it is called the documents tab in Zoom Grants. If you have any questions, there is a contact admin tab in Zoom Grants. You can click that directly emails me, or you can email me here at dchscontracts@kingcounty.gov to ask any questions, and I can put that in the chat. And please, when you do, if you do email, to put the RFQ name in the subject line so that we know which RFQ you're referring to.
Excuse me, Ann,
Yes.
there's one question in the chat. It's from Mark Hampton. What would your idea of documented experience look like, or acceptable forms?
Steve, did you want to respond to that one on what you're looking for the responses?
Sure. Could you read that one more time for me?
Sure. It says, what would your idea of documented experience look like, or acceptable forms?
In general, and I welcome other people's responses. In general, we expect it in a narrative form. I don't think we need a citation for every statement you make about your experience. We're going to assume you're going to be truthfully describing that. And so respond just with a explanation in a narrative form. And if you do have documents, there is a place that I think Andrea can help us with that. There is a place to include those in a supplemental tab, as I recall, if you want to show us something about your experience. So I hope that answers the question. If not, please ask us to clarify. We're going to get to the Q&A section here in a few minutes, so maybe we'll hold on that and follow up if we need to.
There is another question that says, how many clients will RMHC RVC look to serve?
I think that I'm going to hesitate and say it depends on the referrals. I don't know if Kate or Callista feel comfortable stating that here, or if we'd rather get back to folks, not because it's secret, but because we just need to think about it and then put it in a written response that's everybody will see. What do you think?
I mean, I think what we can say is that we know that the housing costs have increased over the years, and it was important for us to have agencies communicate with us what they thought they could do with the funds versus us telling them how many people we wanted to serve. We want to serve people appropriately, and if that means that we serve a few less than we've served in the past, I'd rather serve them well than serve a bunch of people not well, if that answers the question.
And
somewhat.
I'm sorry, I may have misunderstood the question, because if I thought they were asking more about how many folks in your program. So if it's about this RFQ, that's exactly right. You tell us what you can serve, given the funding that we have available, and understanding that that involves case management and housing. Sorry to put you on the spot there, Callista.
It's okay. If it was a program question about how many people we serve, that, varies, but we usually have about, what is it, Kate, 220 people between mental health court and veterans court?
Yeah, a little less since the pandemic has
Okay.
started, but that's probably a good average, with the caveat that not all of those people, of course, would need housing through
Absolutely.
this RFQ.
I mean, I think that, we've served multiple people under different contracts, and maybe Steve, if you want to talk about at some point the fact that this money could be going towards multiple contracts too. I think that's an important thing for people to know. We're interested in partnering with people that can house folk throughout King County, and we know that some people are maybe more location specific, and that we don't want you to feel like you can't apply just because you're maybe only in North King County or only in East King County. But we would then expect that you would probably be partnering with somebody else who would be able to house people in a different part of the county. So I think it's important that you know that you could apply for some of this money to house X amount of people, knowing that other people might apply for some amount of money to house X amount of people.
I think you stated that well. Larry, would you like to say anything more about what Callista said?
Yeah, if the question is trying to get to how many individual units are necessary at one time, I think that's one of the reasons that this award could go to more than one provider. And as Callista said earlier, it's important for the provider to provide service well to as many as they or many clients as they can do comfortably and not worry so much about capacity. A number that has been used as long as I've been managing this contract, we don't pay that much attention to the number because it varies. It's been a pandemic for the last almost 3 years. We've looked at the number of 40, but don't really worry about that. It could be, you might be serving 20 individuals for housing, 30 or more. So I'm hoping that that answers the question without us kind of pinning a number down for people to focus on.
We obviously, part of the assessment process will be your budget. So when you propose, we will serve this many people, we can provide this much housing for this much funding. We obviously need to assess that and make some decisions about the reasonability of it. And so that's part of the process that will go into the selection. Did I get you right to the right slide? Or do I need to advance that, Andrew?
Yeah, next one, please.
Okay.
And they said that your responses were helpful, and
Okay.
so that was great.
Great.
So to apply in Zoom grants, as Steve mentioned earlier, applications must be received in the system no later than 2 p.m. on January 13th, 2023. Regularly check Zoom grants for any updates, clarifications, or amendments, including this slide deck, the recording from today, and also all the Q&A. We'll keep uploading the Q&A as much as we get questions in if there's a big batch we need, but we'll try to keep those all up to date so everyone has the same information. If you're experiencing any technical issues in Zoom grants, please let me know as soon as possible. And if we need, I can help try to troubleshoot that for you. But if we need, we can also get the Zoom grants help desk involved. They're usually very responsive. But I also recommend that you don't wait to the very last minute to try to submit your applications just in case there are issues. But that is the reason why we have them close at 2 p.m. so that there is someone available in case there is issues going on with the system. If it comes to it and there are you just cannot submit, we can accept applications in other forms like email as well. So that is an option. I just wanted to put this slide in here to let everyone know that DCHS now provides capacity building supports and technical assistance supports to all potential applicants and then awarded organizations after contracting. This helps. The technical assistance part of it is with third-party consultants who can help either determine if you're eligible for the application, writing skills, writing the application, stuff like that. The capacity building supports are for awarded organizations, and there's a whole list of different third-party consultants as well that can help with finance, HR, IT issues, legal supports, things like that. So I just wanted to put that out there that this is available to organizations that want to contract with DCHS. There's more information in the RFQ as well. And this is also the website you can go to find out more information. So that brings us to the end of this part of the presentation. So we'll now open it up to everyone. If any of our guests or our staff want to give any more information, otherwise we'll open it up to questions. So you can either put it in the chat or you may unmute and just ask away.
I did want to many of you probably been through RFQ procurement process before, but if you've had any informal conversation with those of us on the program side of DCHS, i.e. Larry, Bridget, myself, Chelsea, during the procurement period, I think Andrea's made this clear, I just want to be very clear about it. we won't be able to have those kinds of conversations. Those questions have to run through Andrea so that we can answer any question any individual asks, so that everybody sees the response, so we can keep the process fair. So it's not because we don't want to talk to you, I don't like you, we just can't. So during the procurement period, which ends in a few weeks. Larry or Chelsea, can you think of anything we haven't said, absent a question that we might get, that you want to add?
You know, I can't. I would just encourage any of you to take advantage of the technical support. And, you know, one of the things King County is always trying to do is diversify and expand the number of providers that we work with, and that they reflect the community of the people that we work with. So please take advantage of the capacity building help that Andrea discussed earlier. It's really informative and helpful.
And I don't know if Kate or Callista want to say anything more about the court itself that would be relevant, or if you just want to leave it as it is, because we did describe it a bit in the document. But this could be an opportunity to do that.
I think the majority of the information would be, you know, available on our websites, but for the specific housing, I will say that we do end up serving more folk from mental health court than we do regional veterans court on average, but that doesn't mean that we don't serve people in veterans court. We have put people from veterans court into this type of housing. We tend to use other veterans housing for our veterans folk, for our veterans, but this is probably, I don't know, 85–90% would be for our regional mental health court participants, if that's helpful.
Thank you. I'll turn it back over to you, Andrea, for any further questions.
Okay, one last call for any questions for today. Again, you can always, oh, go ahead.
This is Mark Hampton. Thanks for your time and thanks for the explanation on just this whole process. I do have a question around the criteria that you're asking for to be bubbled up to you probably on a monthly basis in regards to programming and progress and things of that nature. Is there a way to get like a listing of the information you guys would be looking for in regards to the services that we provide the folks that we're going to be serving, so we can build like a matrix around that and something that we can bubble up to you each month in regards to client progress and client trends? Or is that something you're looking for us to build up on our own?
That sounds to me like a question, Mark, that we should try to answer, but I would be more comfortable consulting internally and then responding to you, to everybody in writing. Otherwise, I think, unless somebody else on the team feels comfortable, I think I would be not as accurate as I'd like to be. So Chelsea or Larry, do you think that's the way to go?
You know, I would say, and Mark, I appreciate the question. You know, one of the things that we do, even though King County, and in this particular case, BHERD is the funding source for regional mental health court, we look at applicants as true partners. So just about in everything we do, we try to take a collaborative approach, so that, for example, information that we might be looking for to evaluate how the program is going, Callista, Kate, myself and Bridget as the contract monitors, and Chelsea as the overall RMHC contract monitor, we would collaborate with that organization that receives this award to develop outcomes that work for all of us. So that would be another way of saying that's an answer that may come down the line, but there'd be true transparency around it. We also have a performance measures and evaluation section that helps us in designing what those outcomes are going to be. But it would be important that you have some say in, because you do the direct service, so you have some say in what that would look like.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great answer. And we will also clarify that a little bit in writing. State some of what Larry just said and maybe be a little clearer so you know. But it is, we're not into gotcha around here in terms of reporting or data. So we know we work with a variety, and Larry's already referenced this, we work with a variety of organizations that have different reporting ability, software, and we work with our evaluators. We'll connect with your organization and see what's doable. There are some baseline things that have to happen, and I'm fairly confident that anyone who'd be interested in doing this work could do that. But that's what we will want to see that when people respond. But if there are questions that have to be worked out, a lot of that gets worked out after the contract's signed and we start to sit down in the first few months of the actual programming.
I'll just say too, I think one of the main things that was highlighted by the court and by Be Heard in the RFP was ability to track the agency, like the agency and the court, all of us working together to track how successful we are at transitioning people from the interim time limited housing that you're providing to more stable permanent housing. So I think that one is like a critical thing that we all need to be tracking. How successful are we at that? Because we don't want people graduating from the regional mental health court, regional veterans program, and your housing into homelessness. So I think that one is one that we're all very clear on. And then the other, again, and I will put all of this in writing and get clear ourselves. But the other thing that I think is important in terms of tracking is purely based on coordination with the court, like ability to track, availability of units, who's in units, when did they get in the unit, when did they leave a unit, so that we can be as efficient with the resource and coordinated with the court as possible. So I think that's another thing to just be thinking about, that level of tracking for coordination with the court purposes. And then I just want to reiterate everything that Larry said in terms of this is a collaboration, and Steve, and a lot of work that we'll do together to determine the level of reporting so that it's helpful and useful for everyone and not getting in your way of the real important work, which is providing the service and support to clients. So thank you for that question.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Any other questions that people are thinking about? Okay, well, I think if no one has any other questions today, again, reach out to me anytime, either through Zoom grants or through the email. I put it in the chat as well. I will be posting this slide deck and this recording on Zoom grants. So look for that under the library tab. And with that, we thank you everybody for joining us today. And I hope you have a great coming up weekend.
Thanks everybody for your interest.
Take care.